I wanted to start off this class with a couple of questions. These are some of the questions that kind of got me interested in electronics, and some of the questions that you guys might be thinking about. So, have you ever wondered, what is electricity? How do power companies make electricity? What is a microphone? How does a microphone turn sound into an electronic signal? Some people say that high voltage is dangerous, and other people say that it's not the voltage that matters, only current will kill you. Well, who's right? Who's wrong? How does that work? What is AC and DC besides a rock band? What is a circuit board? How could I make one? How do people test when electronic things are working or not? How do they find out where it's broken? What sorts of equipment do they use? Those are the kinds of questions that we're going to answer in this class. In fact, we're going to get through all of those questions by the end of the semester. Okay? So if you've ever wondered things like that, this is a great course to be in, because we're gonna learn how those types of things work. Okay? So now that you know a little bit about the very basics of what we're going to cover, I want to talk to you briefly about grades, because I really think that grades are one of the first things that I think about when I come into a class. So I wanted to get that out of the way and talk about that as soon as possible, because it really is important to me as well. It's part of my philosophy for teaching. So my philosophy, my hope is that every single person in this class will get an A. Okay? That is what I hope. And let me explain a little bit. The way that my grading policy works is that my grade, the grade that I give you, the grade that you earn, should reflect the amount of knowledge that you can demonstrate to me. So my hope is that every single person in this class will learn all of the material completely. And if you can demonstrate to me that you've learned all of the material completely, then you will get an A. Okay? It is my goal to teach all of the material to every one of you, and if you can all learn that, then you can all show me that you've learned, then you should all get an A. Okay? So there's not going to be a curve. Other schools, other places require that a certain percentage of people get an A, a certain percentage get a B, and most people get a C, and then there's some D's and F's. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if everybody learns the material, why should some people be getting C's or F's, right? So if you can all learn the material, you should all get A's, and that is my sincere hope that that will happen. That doesn't mean that the class is going to be easy, though. Okay? It's not. We cover a lot of material. The material is quite challenging, and so it will be very difficult for all of you to learn it. That being said, I will be there to support you. So if you are having trouble with the concept and you come and ask me about it, I will be there to help you, and I will work with you as long as it takes to make sure that you understand it entirely, okay? So if you're having trouble, please, please, please come and ask me questions. If you have any time during my lectures, if something's not clear, please put up your hand and ask me about it. Because if you are having trouble understanding it, I can guarantee there are at least 5 more people in the class who are also having trouble, who just don't want to raise their hand, okay? So if you are having trouble and you raise your hand and ask a question, it's going to be helping you, and it's also going to be helping your classmates, okay? So, so please ask questions during my lecture anytime. Also, if I still don't make something clear during the lecture, you can come up to me during the lab times and ask me more about it. Or if that's not enough time, you can come up during my office hours, okay? So if you're getting stuck on something, please come and ask me about it so that I can help you out. Okay? So really, the best way to ensure that you learn all of the material completely and that you therefore earn a good grade is to come to class and come to lecture all the time, okay? If you come to class and you come to lecture, you can absorb the material firsthand. If you're having trouble with something, you can ask me right then. I can give you direct feedback. That's really the best way to learn, okay? Like I said, I provide the YouTube channel, but that should be a backup. That should not be your first line of learning, okay? So please come to class and come to lecture. Sometimes people start getting a little bit behind and they figure, oh, well, I won't come to class today, I'll just stay home and I'll do my work and get caught up and then I'll come next time. The problem with that is that you don't come to class, you don't get the material that I present that day. And then if you're staying at home and working on something and you have a question about it, you can ask me right then. You can send me an email, I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible, but it's not the same. So really come to class, come to lecture as much as you possibly can, and that's the best way to learn and stay current, okay? All right. So that's a little bit about grades. Like I said, I hope everybody gets an A. The best way to learn everything and earn that A is to come to class as much as possible. So let's talk a little bit about a preview for this class. Really about how we learn, okay? So we've talked a little bit about what we're going to learn, what my goal is for you. I hope that it's your goal, it's everyone's goal here to learn everything and to get an A as well. So let's talk a little bit about how we actually learn in this class. Hi, welcome. Please come in and grab one of each of the headphones. So the main way that we learn in this class is by doing, by learning things hands-on, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. This is something called a robot, okay? This is a little robot that we programmed, and what it does is that it crawls around on the ground and it's got these two little antennae, and if it bumps into something, it backs up, turns around, and goes the other way. So we'll start this going. I can crawl around the classroom. So a lot of times people get into electronics because they want to see things move. They want to see lights blink. They want to see switches work. They want to make motors turn, stuff like that. And so we want to give you guys that experience as soon as possible, okay? We want to get you going with that as soon as possible. So next class, you guys are going to start working on building your own Bobot, okay? Right away, we want to get you guys working on this stuff. Now, this is not the way that it's done in every school. A lot of other schools think that you need to take lots of theory first. You need to take, 3 years of math before you can actually start building any circuits. And we think that's completely silly, okay? We want to get you guys working with your hands and building stuff right away. So that's what we do. Oh, it got stuck. Can you turn it around there? Yeah, there you go. So a lot of other schools say, well, no, they can't. They can't start building stuff because they're going to break things. And we say, yeah, you guys are going to break stuff. And that's okay. In fact, we want that. Because if you build a circuit the way that you think it should be built, and then something starts smoking, that is a great way to learn. Okay? You know that something about the way that you thought that circuit was supposed to be isn't quite right. All right? If I go and I get assigned a bunch of problems and I turn them all in and I get 19 out of 20, I'm going to call that a good day. I'm going to close my book and go home. I'm probably not going to go back and look at that last questions. If I build a circuit and it lights on fire on my desk, I'm going to know that something was not right, and I'm going to go back and figure out what it was. Okay, so if you break something, that really is an opportunity to learn and figure out why it was that the circuit didn't work the way that you thought it would work. Okay, so some people get freaked out about that. They don't want to break things, but most of the components that we have in this class cost less than $1. Okay, so if you are building a circuit and you're going along, you're doing it just right, you think it's going to be fine, and then turns out that a piece burns up, costs the school $1, but you guys learned something, and that sticks in your mind, $1 well spent. Okay. That being said, we don't want you to try to break things intentionally. Okay. We always want you to try to do things the right way. Try to do things the way that you think it should be done. But if it happens to break, totally fine. All right, not a problem. With that in mind, we do focus on safety. Okay, we need to make sure that you guys are all safe. Our most important priority is for everybody to go home safe at the end of the day. I'll pass this around and you guys can just take a look at it. So we have you guys wear safety glasses while you're in the lab so that you don't get injured if something explodes unexpectedly. We do make sure to tell you which components are dangerous. Turns out there are these little components called electrolytic capacitors, and if you plug them in backwards, they pop like a firecracker. Okay, so before we use those, we make sure and tell you guys about those. We make sure and warn you how to use them correctly, how to make sure that they don't explode on you. So we try to be as safe as possible. But that being said, if something breaks, as long as you learn from it, that's totally fine. Okay. Also, another way that we are hands-on is that we get you guys working with the state-of-the-art equipment as soon as possible in the first semester here. Again, a lot of other schools say, no, you have to have a lot of experience before you start working with this stuff. But we say, look, you guys are here, a lot of people want to get jobs, and to get jobs, you need to have experience with the equipment that you're going to be using out in the real world. So we want to give you as much experience with that as possible. So we get you working with the equipment as soon as we can here in the first semester. Okay, so we let you use oscilloscopes, function generators, power supplies. We're going to tell you all about these things, how they work, what they're good for, and let you actually start playing with them. And we don't want you to break these things. These are definitely more than $1, but we teach you how to use them so that you know, and then they really are pretty well designed to not be susceptible to most of the stuff that we have in the lab. So we trust you guys, and we think that that's the best way for you to learn, by using the tools that you really be using in the industry. Okay. So again, we really, in terms of how we learn in this class, the class preview, we really value hands-on learning and using the real tools as soon as possible. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay, cool. So then it's time to go on and talk a little bit about the syllabus. Okay, so this is syllabus. This is the white sheet, the white paper that you guys have. If anybody hasn't gotten the syllabus yet, please come up and grab one. This is a hard copy. We're going to have an electronic copy on the Canvas website as well. So if you lose yours, you can always go back and refer to it on the Canvas website. Okay? So we're going to go through this, and then In the middle, we're going to stop and talk about the accommodation statement and the communication policy. So this is kind of a dry thing. I just need to cover basically everything that's in here. There's a lot of stuff here, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. Okay? So the course description is the introductory course, explores the field of electronics and electricity. Topics include the theory of AC, DC, Ohm's law, inductance, and capacitance. Most of those terms probably don't mean anything to you yet, and that's totally fine. We're going to talk a lot about those. The use of electronic simulation software and hands-on laboratory experiments using industry instruments reinforced theory. So I already talked about the instruments. These are the instruments, the test equipment that we're going to be using. It also talks about simulation. This is another thing that we're going to be doing in this class. We're going to actually be designing circuits on the computer and running simulations. This is, again, something that is done widely in industry because simulations are quicker and cheaper than building actual products. So when you're designing a new board or a new thing, often you will make a simulation of it first and try it out on the computer before you actually build it in real life. So again, in order to give you a preview of what the industry is like, we'll have you guys start working with that software as well. Okay? So we'll be doing some simulations, and it says that it reinforces the theory of electronics. So, as I mentioned earlier, typically what will happen on any given day is that you guys will come in here to lecture at 9 o'clock. We'll do about an hour and a half of lecture, and then we'll have a 10 or 15 minute break, and then we'll go over and do about an hour and a half in the lab. Okay? So I'll talk about a particular topic here in lecture, then we'll have a break, we'll go over, and then we'll do a lab where you guys actually get to do an experiment that helps you learn more about the topic that we discussed. Okay? So that's the general idea. Field trips to local electronic industries may be required. I think I already mentioned how much I like field trips. Oftentimes, when you get years and years after a course, most of the material fades away, but I know that I still remember field trips that I took when I was in 3rd grade, okay? So I think field trips really stick with you, and so we're going to do at least one of those for you guys. Hopefully that'll stick with you as well, okay? All right, so that's basically what's happening there. Student learning outcomes. These are what we hope you will be able to do once you're done with this course. So create simple electronic schematics using basic symbols. So a schematic is like a blueprint for a circuit, okay? And we'll teach you guys how to do those. We'll do some examples up on the board. We'll have you guys practice. And we want to get you familiar so that you can make your own schematics and also be able to read other people's schematics. Okay? Analyze and troubleshoot basic electronic circuits. Well, you guys are all going to be building circuits that are listed in the lab book, and I can tell you right now, I don't think I've ever built a circuit that's worked exactly right the first time, okay? So you guys will probably have a similar experience. You'll look at the lab book, you'll put the circuit together the way that you think it should be, and then it probably won't work exactly right the first time. So you'll have to go in and figure out what's not quite right. So that's analyzing and troubleshooting electronic circuits. Okay, so you'll be doing that probably every day as a part of actually building your own circuits. Applying electrical concepts to measure, evaluate resistance, capacitance, and inductive devices. So we'll talk more about what that means later on in the class. Compare and contrast series and parallel resistors, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk more about that later. Synthesize and analyze electronic circuitry using computer simulation software. We already discussed that. Diagnose simple circuit failures with standard electronic measurement devices. So again, when you build your circuit and it doesn't work quite right, you have to figure out why it's not working. So we will show you how to use the test equipment to go in and figure out what's going on. Okay? And then you're going to assemble electronic circuits using basic soldering techniques. So this is another fun and cool part of the class. Has anybody ever soldered before? A couple people? All right. By the end of this class, everybody will have soldered, right? One of the cool things that we get to do in this class is we get to build a fiber optic communicator, okay? So you guys are all going to start with bare boards, and you're all going to solder your own components into these boards and make your own fiber optic communicator kits, okay? So everybody will have their own kit to take home by the end of this class. This kit consists of a transmitter and a receiver. The transmitter has a little microphone on there, and you can speak into the microphone, and the microphone takes the sound of your voice, turns it into a voltage signal, and then the circuitry on there takes the voltage and turns it into a light signal. The light then gets shined down this fiber optic cable. So this is a long plastic cable. This is not a wire. This is a plastic cable running from the transmitter to the receiver. And the light goes from one side from the transmitter over to the receiver. Okay? Then the receiver does just the opposite of the transmitter. It takes that light, it turns it into a voltage, and then it sends that voltage out to the speaker, which turns the electricity into sound. Okay? So on the transmitter, it goes sound to voltage to light, and on the receiver, it goes light to voltage to sound. So you guys are going to get to solder these kits yourselves. Okay, so I'll pass this around, and you guys can take a look at that and see a little bit more about them. Now these look pretty complicated, and they are a little bit complicated, but we're going to spend at least 3 classes on these, and we will have covered a lot of the basic components already by then, and so hopefully you'll get a fundamental understanding of how these work. And also you get to practice your soldering. You get to learn how to actually solder components into a circuit board. You'll learn what a circuit board is, and if you're interested, I can show you a little bit about how you can actually design your own circuit board. Okay? So I think that will be really cool. This is another one of those examples of how we really value hands-on learning. You get to really put your hands on a soldering iron, make your own circuit board, make those connections, and see how everything goes together. Okay? Soldering is a skill also that's applicable in many different industries. So if you go into electronics manufacturing, most of the soldering is done by machines now, but there are rework things that need to be done by hand, small prototyping batches that need to be done by hand, stuff like that. If you're working in the music industry, a lot of times components can overheat or boards can get damaged when somebody yanks on a plug, and often it's possible to fix those boards with just a little bit of solder. Okay? If you know the right place to do it and you know how to use a soldering iron, oftentimes you can fix those boards yourself. Okay? So again, soldering is a really useful skill. We're just going to scratch the surface of how to do it in this class. We're going to give you a basic introduction. If you are interested in soldering, we have an entire semester-long course on how to do it and get certified so that you can do it in really high-quality applications, like things that are going to be used in jets or planes that get shaken around a lot, or things that are used in biomedical devices that need to be really high quality because somebody's life is depending on it and stuff like that. So in this class, we're just going to give you a brief introduction to how it works, but we offer many other, a much more extensive soldering class as well. So that brings us to that was the last student learning outcome, where everybody gets to assemble their own circuit using basic soldering techniques. And again, everybody is going to have one of these. You can take it home with you, and this is also a tool that you can use if you're looking for a job. Okay. Often it's very helpful to take this with you on a job interview and say, here, look, this is something I built myself. I can tell you a little bit about how it works. You can see an example of the quality of my workmanship. Okay? That often means a lot more to an employer than someone who would just come in and say, yeah, I did some soldering. Right? So this is something to help you get jobs as well. Okay, so moving on in the syllabus, class times, you guys are all here. Like I said, I try to start class right promptly at 9 o'clock. We waited a little bit longer today because it's the first day of class, but typically I'll try to start right at 9 o'clock. We have about an hour and a half of lecture and an hour and a half of lab. The final exam time is listed there as well. I'm your professor, Jordan Meyer. My office is Tech Ed 16. We'll go see that on our mini field trip. I have office hours from 12 to 12:30 on Monday and Wednesdays. So that's right after this class gets out. So if you are done with this class and you have some questions, I will be over in my office and you're welcome to come by and see me. I also have office hours from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday. The reason for that is because I teach a night class from 6 till 9. And often the people in that class work during the day. So they would not be able to be at an office hour in the middle of the day. So for them, I have office hours from 9 to 10. You're welcome to stop by there as well, but I imagine it's not as convenient for you. So my email is listed there and my phone number as well. You can feel free to send me emails or talk to me. Give me a call on the phone. I guess this is a good time to look at the communication policy. So this blue sheet of paper is the communication policy. It's a little bit about how I will communicate with you and how I would like you to communicate with me. So one of the ways that I will communicate with you is using Canvas. I mentioned this briefly before. Canvas is the online learning management system that is used throughout this school and really throughout a lot of schools in California. This will have a lot of information about the class. So it will have some quizzes that you have to take. It will show all of the assignments that you will have to do. It will have your grades from your lab book and things like that. So there will be a lot of information posted there, and it's a good idea for you guys to go there and check it probably at least once a day. Okay? If not for this class, then other classes you might be taking as well. There's a getting started guide that you can look at if you are not familiar, if you haven't used Canvas before. Check that out. So for grading and feedback, as I mentioned, there will be a few quizzes that are available on Canvas. Yes? I'm sorry?
You can take a picture.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, you can take pictures. So there will be quizzes online, and you can take those quizzes, and then they will be graded automatically right away, and you can see those. When we go to lab, everybody is going to be using one of these lab books, and you will be filling out your lab books as we go along. So the lab book has the procedure for each lab, and then it also has space to record data that you get from each lab. So at the end of each lab, you should ask me or one of the other lab assistants to come over and check you out, and we'll look over your lab, make sure that it's looking good, and then we will sign it off in the book. Okay? So your book should be updated every day. And then every 2 or 3 weeks, somebody will come around and check your lab book and enter all of your grades, upload them to Canvas. Okay? So you will be able to check your grades on Canvas as they are in. The midterm and final grades will be graded and then posted on Canvas as well. Okay. Yes.
Just so I'm clear, will there be anything assigned through Canvas or just?
There will be some quizzes that are specifically through Canvas, and actually the midterm and the final will be accessed through Canvas as well. So another way that I will communicate with you is through email. Every person enrolled in a class at ARC has a Gmail account assigned to them. So every one of you has your own Gmail account. And you should check that because that's where all the official communication from ARC goes. So if I want to send you all an email, that's the email address that I have. So that's where I will be able to send the email. Okay. So if I want to remind you guys that we have a quiz coming up, or send you some information about a field trip, that email is where it's going to go. So you should either check that regularly, or you can actually have that email forwarded to another address. So maybe you have a personal address that you check all the time anyway. You can forward your emails to that personal address, and then you don't have to check two places. Okay? So there are instructions about how to forward it. There are video instructions, things like that. You might notice that some of these words and phrases here are underlined like they're hyperlinks. That's because there is an electronic version of this page on Canvas, and those are hyperlinks there. So you guys all have a hard copy of this. I've given it to you, but if you are interested in more of these videos or written instructions for other things, you can check out the electronic copy of this on Canvas, and then you can have all of those links available to you. Okay. Now, some ways that you can communicate with me. You can email me. My email address is listed there. I usually get back to you in about a day or so. You can call my office phone. That's listed there as well. I sometimes post announcements on the Canvas page, so you should check the Canvas page regularly. Netiquette is online etiquette. Basically, there are some rules, but it boils down to common courtesy. Okay, treat somebody the way that you would want to be treated. Just don't be evil, as they say. And then there is an accommodation statement as well. So that is this main page. So basically, I have designed this course to be welcoming and accessible to everyone. I want everyone to feel that all of the material is present and easily intelligible for everyone. Okay, so if you have a requirement for certain accommodations, I can meet those. There are lots of things I can do. I can give you extended time on exams. I can give you a seat at the front of the class. I can give you more time on homework. I can do lots of things to tailor the class to meet your needs. But I can only do these things if they are requested by the Office of Disabled Student Programs and Services, or DSP&S for short. Okay, so if you need one of these accommodations, what you need to do is you need to go to the Office of DSP&S. Their location is listed at the bottom of this page. So you need to go there and you talk to them about why you need these accommodations. They will do an evaluation and they will then write down all of the accommodations that are appropriate for you on a pink sheet of paper. Then it's your responsibility to bring that pink sheet of paper to me, and I will be sure to give you all of those accommodations that you need. Okay? So again, I cannot request those accommodations for you. It is your responsibility go to DSP&S, get that pink sheet of paper, and then send it to me so that I can then provide those accommodations. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay. I will try and schedule a presentation from some people at DSP&S to come here and talk to you guys, because they really do offer some great services as well. Okay. Any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Again, like I said, today is the most boring day of the entire semester. I apologize, but there's just not much we can do about it. We have to go through all the material here so you guys know what's going on. Okay. So then we're on to the evaluation procedure. This is on page 2. This tells you how the points are assigned. Okay. So this gives you an outline, and it's approximate. There may be slight changes during the semester, but this is approximately where all the points will come from. Okay? And again, all of these points will be listed on Canvas so that you can see how you're doing as the semester is going along. So there will be about 3 homework assignments that are assigned through the lab book, a couple of crosswords in the lab book. There will be these challenge software assignments. These are simulations that you have to do, and they are ways for you to practice your electronics. You can see that the vast majority of your points come from labs, okay? This is because we really do value the hands-on learning. We think that the hands-on stuff you do in the labs is the most important, so that's where most of your points come from. So that's another reason why it's so important to come to class and come to labs every day, because that's where you get your points. If you start falling behind, you're going to start losing out on points there, and your knowledge is going to fall behind as well. So about 27 labs, 10 points each, comes out to about 270 points. Okay? So it's really important to make sure you stay current on your labs. There are 4 competency quizzes. These are quizzes that you're going to be taking online that are really dealing with the core concepts that we're going to cover in this class. Okay? So there will be 6 of those, and the way that I do these is that I want to judge your learning, your knowledge on these concepts. And if you don't know if you try to do the quiz at the beginning of the semester and it's not quite, the knowledge hasn't quite gelled for you yet, that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. You know, maybe by the end of the semester, it has really solidified for you, and now that concept makes a lot of sense. So the way that I do these quizzes is that I allow you to take them as many times as you want, and you get to keep the highest score that you ever get, okay? And that's beneficial, I think, in a couple ways. First of all, it gives you guys some practice, right? If you take the quiz once and it's not quite clear, you can take it again and get some more practice, and hopefully it's a little bit clearer the next time around. The numbers change from the quizzes, so it's not like you can just copy down the answers the first time and then put them in the second time, right? The numbers are randomized, so they change each time, but it gives you guys some practice with the material. So it's good for you, I hope. Also, it helps me to understand how you guys are doing. So if we have a quiz on one topic and I see that everybody gets 95% on that topic on the quiz, I know that I probably covered it enough and we can move on to other things. If we have a quiz on a second topic and everybody gets, 20%, that tells me I probably need to spend a little bit more time working on that and cover it some more in lecture. Okay, so I encourage you guys to take these core competency quizzes early and often, right? It's going to help you to learn the material, give you practice. It will hopefully give you some feedback about where you are and how well you know the material, and it will also give me feedback, okay? So that's what the core competency quizzes are. There will be a midterm exam that will be done in class. That'll be hands-on. We'll talk a lot about it before that actually happens. That'll be 30 points. And then the final exam will be half hands-on and half written, and that'll be about 40 points. Okay. So that's how points will be awarded. In terms of grades, anything between 90 and 100% will be an A, 80 to 90% is a B, and so on. It's listed there. So, do you guys have questions about how you will actually earn your grades or what they will be? Yeah?
If you miss a class or lab, can you make it up?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for asking. A lot of professors have firm due dates for their assignments. They say, you know, this is due September 1st, and you turn it in September 2nd, you get nothing, right? And that's the way that a lot of my professors graded things when I was in undergraduate school. And then I went and I was studying for my master's degree, and the philosophy was that, well, as long as you do the work, you should get credit. And I'm much more, I felt that was a much better philosophy. If you do the work, you get credit for it. So that's the way that I grade my assignments. As long as you do the assignment by the time that the semester is over, you will get credit for it. So if you miss a lab, you know, for whatever reason, you're sick, you have to care for somebody, whatever else, that's fine. You just have to come in and make it up and make sure that you get it done by the end of the semester, okay? So I'm trusting you guys. I think that you're all adults. You have, you're responsible for managing your own time, and I think that you can do that. That being said, you know, it gives you kind of enough leeway to really get yourself in trouble, okay? So if you just decide not to do any of the assignments until the last week, I'm not going to grade you down for it, but I can guarantee that you're not going to be able to finish them all in a week, okay? So it's up to you to make sure that you stay on track as we go along, all right? Yeah?
If we were to miss a lab, how would we go about making that up?
Great question. We have open lab times. They will start about the third week of the semester, and they will be on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons, probably from 4:30 till 6 or so. And so you can come in during any of those lab times, and the lab room will be open, all the equipment will be available to you, and you can come in and do the work that you missed. Sometimes there is, you get done with one lab a little bit sooner than, and you have a little bit of time left at the end. You're welcome to use that time to catch up on stuff as well. Also, there is this great program called Beacon Tutoring that American River College provides. Basically, we have a tutor who is a student like you guys, but who has been through all of the classes already and really knows the material backwards and forwards. And he comes and has additional hours in the lab where he will be there to answer questions and help you guys finish anything that you need to make up. So we don't know exactly when those hours are going to be yet. Again, they'll probably start around the third week and then continue through the rest of the semester. And I'll update you guys when that becomes available. So, so Beacon Tutoring times, open office hour, or open lab times, and time at the end of other labs is when you can make up your work. Yeah?
We cannot do this and go home.
No, that's the great thing. The question was, do you have to buy your own components? So, no is the answer. In the past, we have asked students to buy a fiber optic communicator kit from the bookstore, but you guys are part of a sort of a beta program where I designed our own version of this printed circuit board, and we have those boards made for you guys, and we have all the components in the lab, so you guys don't have to buy any of that. Okay.
Is that the first year that this is in place?
This is the second semester that we are doing this. Okay, so we did it last semester, went pretty well. There were a couple of minor tweaks that we made to the board, so you guys are actually getting the next revision of the boards. So yeah, so you don't have to buy your own boards. So any other questions about grading? Because that's actually a nice segue. Okay, so that's a nice segue over to the required materials. So the okay, so I need to look at this textbook. This textbook is actually not required anymore. What we're going to do this semester is that we are going to have an online textbook. Okay, so we are going to use a free online textbook which allows you guys to access it electronically anytime. If you wish to print out your own version, you're welcome to do that, but you don't have to. The online version is totally free. Okay, so in the past, we've had students buy these textbooks and they run $100 or more. Yeah.
Do you have a textbook with you? Because I would like to see it, because I look online, but I didn't figure out which book you.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's take a look. I'll fire up.
At least just the cover.
Well, okay. So it's an online textbook, so it's not a printed thing. So there's just a link to it. So I will show you what that looks like, and that'll give me a chance to talk a little bit about Canvas as well.
If you go on the bookstore on the website and put in the class number for this, it'll tell you exactly what book.
Yeah, but it doesn't show the picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right, because we're not buying a textbook through the bookstore. So typically, yes, if you were buying a textbook through the bookstore, you're right, it would have a link and it would show you the textbook cover and all that. Hi, how are you?
Is this horticulture?
No, sorry.
No, it's not.
So in our case, though, we are using the free online textbook, and so there's no picture on the bookstore website. So this is Canvas. If anybody has not seen Canvas before, this is what it looks like. It has a main page here. So if you scroll down on the main page, this is the link to all of the YouTube lectures. Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but let's say you do have to look. I just want the agreement. Do you want us to like photocopy it, or do you want us to tear it out, or
The agreement?
yeah, oh wait a minute, this is something. Yeah, the waiver section.
Okay. The liability waiver we talked about. So, yeah. Okay. So on Canvas, there's a main page. It's got my contact information. It's got the YouTube link. It's got the student cult calendar, which we'll talk about in a minute. If you go over here to Syllabus, you can find a link to the course syllabus. This is the one that we're reviewing now. It also has the accommodation statement and the communication policy there. And then it has this schedule and reading list. Okay? So the schedule on the reading list shows you what topics we're going to be covering on which days, and also what reading is assigned for each of those days. So if you come over here and click on one of these links, this will take you straight to the online textbook, and it will show you the section that is assigned. Yeah.
Is it downloadable or do you have to be home with it?
You can download it. So it's actually available in several different formats. So this is a direct link to an online version of this section. But if you go here, there you can see that it's broken down into online sections, or there's also a PDF version. So you can click on this PDF version and download that, and then it's available offline. And I actually like the formatting of the PDF version more. It comes out a little bit more legible, I think, and a little bit better formatted. And it has the entire book. So the only reason I didn't link to this one is because it's not possible to provide links to specific sections. But I do like the formatting of the PDF a little bit. So anyway, so that's how you can find the textbook online that we need.
So we don't need to buy any book. We have
You don't need to buy the textbook. You do need to buy the lab book, okay? Everybody needs to buy the lab book. This runs, I think, $25 or $30 at the bookstore, and it's only available at the bookstore. You can't buy it online. You have to get it from the bookstore. This, so this is the only book that you need. What's that?
It's about $60.
60?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. They've increased the prices. So this is important because it has all of the instructions for all of the labs that we're going to be doing, and also it has spaces for you to write down all of your results. So this, you guys all need this, and you should try and get it by the second week of class, so like a week from today. So, I know some people have financial aid and it doesn't come in right away. So if that's a problem, let me know and we can work on it. I printed out the first couple of labs, so if you can't get your lab book right away, that's not a problem. I can let you use those printed out copies, and then you'll just hold on to those. But do try and get this book as soon as you can. Okay? Yeah.
So we won't find the book on Amazon or?
Right. This book is not on Amazon because it's made specifically for this class.
Okay. Or
Yeah.
rent it from any other source? No.
You can't rent it because you fill in your own data when you go. And so if you rented it and then filled in your own data and then you try to return it. So unfortunately, this one you do have to buy. Yeah. But we're trying to reduce costs as much as we can. Like I said, we're not doing the textbook this year, and we're also not asking students to buy the fiber optic communicator kits. So that.
How about the calculator?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about the other required materials. So we talked about the lab book. The calculator is really a good idea, okay? These guys, it doesn't have to be super fancy. We recommend this one, the TI-30X2S, because it has the features that we need. But really, any type of scientific calculator is fine. You can get this one for about $10 at the bookstore or online or at office supply stores. They're readily available. So we recommend this one, but if you have another one that you like, that's fine. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you use a more advanced calculator?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yep. If you have another one, you know, this is pretty basic, but there are some that do graphing and all kinds of stuff. And if you know how to use it and it's comfortable for you, that's totally fine. The reason that we ask you to get a calculator is because we don't allow smartphones to be used on tests, okay? So a lot of people say, well, I got a smartphone, it's got a calculator app on there, I'll just use that. Most of the time, then I'll borrow a calculator when it comes test time. The problem with that is that you borrow your buddy's calculator on the day of the midterm, and you get in the midterm, and you're already kind of nervous, right? Because it's a midterm. And then you start punching numbers in, and it starts giving you all kinds of weird numbers. And there's E symbols in there, and there's this and that, and nothing's working right. And now you're really freaking out because you're in the middle of a midterm, and your calculator isn't working for you. And it's just extra stress that you don't really need. So we recommend that you get a calculator like this, and you use it throughout the semester, so you become familiar with it. If you have any questions about it during the semester, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and talk you through it and make sure that it's working for you and you understand how it works. If you're on the day of the midterm and you're working with somebody else's calculator and you ask me about it, I can't do much because I can't really answer questions during a midterm, right? So much better to get a calculator early on, make sure you're familiar with how it works, and then on the day of the midterm, there's no surprises, okay? So that's why we recommend a calculator. Again, I need to update the syllabus. It says you need to buy a fiber optic communicator kit, but that's not the case. Like I said, we're going to be giving you the fiber optic communicator kit, okay? So don't worry about that. You will need to get your own safety glasses, okay? So something like this, they need to have shields on the sides of the eyes because we want to make sure you guys are safe. Like I said, sometimes in this class, components can explode. We're also going to be working with soldering irons, which are very hot, and they actually melt metal. And the melted metal has a tendency to boil sometimes and pop. And if you get a little piece of flying molten metal and it bounces off your safety glasses, it's going to be no problem. If you get a little piece of flying molten metal and it lands in your eyeball, that's a bad day for everyone, all right? So everybody needs to have these safety glasses. If you have some already, that's totally fine, you can use those. If you don't have any, these cost about $2 at the bookstore, or you can get them at any hardware store. We're not really picky about what kind you have, as long as they have the side wraparound shield. Regular reading glasses or other glasses are not enough because they're not designed to protect your eyes. They don't usually have those wraparound pieces. So they need to be specific safety glasses, right? We wanted to help you guys out. We used to lend these out, but the school shut us down. They said that it was a health risk to loan glasses to different people. Okay, so unfortunately we can't lend them out. Everybody needs to have their own pair of safety glasses. Okay, so that is the last piece of required equipment. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. We already talked about the communication policy and the accommodation statement. The course details are here. Canvas. We can take a minute to discuss Canvas. So for those of you who've never seen it before, this is what it looks like. This is the home page. And then on the left, there are lists of important links. Okay. So there's this announcements section. Right now it's grayed out because I haven't made any announcements, but if I make some announcements during the semester, they will be posted there and you should be able to see those. Modules here are some basic things that we're going to be covering in the class. So there's introduction, so that includes the syllabus, the and so on. There's the required books, student expectations and conduct. There is technology requirements and help. So this is how you can get some help with Canvas and things like that. So this is introduction. There's some challenge software here. We'll talk more about that later in the semester. Then there's the labs. So here is a little bit of information about some of the first labs, okay? So that's what's going on in modules. The assignments section shows you everything that you'll need to do throughout the semester. So really, the lab book is the major one. This lists each page where we have a lab, and you will be able to see your grades for each one of those. The quizzes show some of the quiz things that you will have to do. So these are the core competency quizzes that I mentioned earlier on. These are the ones you can take as much as you want. You get to keep your highest score. These are grades. So this is where you will see your grades updated throughout the semester. I see grades for everyone because I'm the professor, but when you go to the grades section, it will show only your own grades. Okay? So basically, I'm not going to go through all of these links, but these are some other links that are available on Canvas. So each course has its own Canvas page, and this is my Canvas page. If you have questions about Canvas, does anybody have questions about the stuff I've talked about so far? So if you have other questions about it, or you go on and something isn't clear, you're welcome to come to me during lab or something like that. I'll try and work with you and help you understand. Okay? All right. So the electronics web, that's just the web page for the electronics department here. So that's what's going on there. And then the lab computers. When we go over to the lab, there will be a computer at each of the lab benches. You can log on to that computer using your student number and your password. So that's all that's going on there. We already talked about the course format, I think, and the method of instruction, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. We already talked about tests and quizzes a little bit. We talked about late work. Remember, as long as you do the work by the end of the semester, I'm going to give you credit for it, so there's not really much of a late policy. The only exception is the midterm exam and the final exam. Okay? You need to be here on both of those days. I have posted in the syllabus, or on the syllabus page on the schedule, when those days are. So the midterm is going to be on October 17th, and the final is going to be for the morning class on December 17th. Okay? So you do need to be here for those days. If you, yes?
If someone wants to talk with you about an exception for the final.
Yes. So if you know for certain that you are going to be away, you can speak to me ahead of time. We might be able to set something up. But the thing that's not okay is you come in the day after the final and say, "Oh, gee, I forgot. Was that yesterday?" That's not going to work. You need to be here on the day of the midterm and the day of the final, unless you specifically talk to me about it beforehand. You know, if you come and say, I really wanted to be here, but I was in a car crash and I'm in traction now, I might be able to make something work, all right? But short of that, you have to be here or talk about it beforehand. All right. So that's late work. Midterm progress and final grades. These will all be on Canvas. So the attendance policy, the school has this attendance policy where I am required to drop you if you miss more than 10% of the classes. Or I'm sorry, more than 6% of the classes. So with the semester, 6% of the classes works out to be about 2 class periods. So I am supposed to drop you if you miss more than 2 class periods. Okay, that seems really, really harsh to me. Like I said, I think you guys are all adults. You're all capable of managing your own time. So I'm not going to drop you, on the 3rd day that you missed. All right. What I'll probably do is I'll probably send you an email saying, hey, what's up? Are you doing okay? Is there anything I can do to help? You missed 3 classes. Make sure you stay up with your work, and probably leave it at that. Okay. So I will let you guys.
Is this horticulture?
No.
Right.
All right. So it'll be up to you guys to make up the work that you missed, but I'm not going to drop you automatically. That being said, if you start missing, week after week of classes, and I send you an email and I don't hear anything back, I may end up dropping you. All right. So if you're missing lots of classes, it's a good idea to check in with me and just let me know what's going on. All right. I'll try and work with you and try and give you any information you need and help you out. Really, I want to help you as much as possible. All right. So that being said, though, if you have something that comes up in the middle of the semester, maybe you get a fantastic job opportunity and you have to take that.
Is this the horticulture class?
Electronics.
What?
Electronics. Sorry, man. All right. So if you're in the middle of the semester and something else happens, like you get a job, or maybe your work schedule changes and it overlaps with the class, so you can't come anymore, and you just stop coming, you can't count on me to drop you. You might think, oh, I'm not coming to class anymore. He's going to know. He's just going to drop me from the class. Doesn't necessarily work that way. All right. If something happens and you can't come to class anymore and you know you're not going to finish, it's up to you to go into e-services and manually remove yourself from the class. Okay. If you don't do that, then you might end up sticking in the class till the end, and you might end up with a bad grade on your transcript. Okay. So if you know that you're not going to be in the class, it's up to you to make sure that you withdraw yourself. Okay? Yeah.
And absences we notice are considered absent?
Well, I keep track of all absences and presences in the Canvas just to help myself remember what's going on, but it's not going to affect your grade. So I don't grade you up if you're here 100% of the time. I don't grade you down if you miss lots of classes. Your grades are all given by the points listed in the syllabus, and so you'll notice there's no section on there for attendance. All right. So the attendance is just, well, it's mainly for me to make sure that I can keep track and notice if people start missing lots of classes so that I can reach out to you and help you. The attendance is never going to affect your grade. If you know you're not going to be here, it's always nice to just shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm going to miss this day because I'm touring with my band and it's a great opportunity. I'm never going to be able to do it again, and so I'm going to make up the work. And I'll say, cool, have a good time. So that's it. Hey, how are you?
Happy first day.
Thank you very much.
Great day.
Good to see you. That was actually not someone with the horticulture. That was the associate vice president of I forget what, but very nice of him to stop by. Yeah. So so that's my attendance policy. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so we'll talk about the safety, release of liability and waiver when we get over to the lab over there. There are some great support services, including reading across the disciplines and writing across the curriculum. We're going to learn more about those on our mini field trip, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those right now. Conduct and behavior, basically, I think, well, we want to make this environment safe and friendly for everybody. So just use common courtesy when you're in the classroom, okay? Treat other people the way that you would want to be treated, and we're all going to get along just fine, okay? Plagiarism and cheating, I think that everybody knows what cheating is. Plagiarism, just to be extra clear, is when you look at somebody else's work and you copy it without giving them any credit, okay? So neither plagiarism nor cheating is okay. Please don't do any one of those. There are specific consequences all spelled out here. It gets ugly, and I don't want to deal with it, so I'm not going to go into it. You can feel free to read about those. We really haven't had any issues with that in our classes here, but please don't do that, okay? Special needs, health, and safety. I've already covered the accommodation statement, so I think that that really is what I want to say about what's going on there. We'd already talked about field trips. We'll talk more about the emergency phone number when we get over to the lab. The lab cleanup policy. Basically, the lab is over there. There's lots of stuff that we're going to be using, lots of components coming and going. The lab assistants over there do a really nice job of keeping everything neat and tidy for your class and for all the other classes that use it. So just leave the bench the way that you found it. If there's any garbage or anything that accumulates during the lab, just pick it up and throw it in the trash. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Okay? If you use any parts, you take them down during the lab, just put them away where you found them at the end. And the only thing is that there are a bunch of resistors in different values and lots of different little components. And sometimes people have a bunch of components at the end of the day and they say, oh, I don't want to take the time to sort them, I'm just going to throw them in a little pile over there. Well, that means that the lab techs then have to go through your pile and sort your stuff, and that's just a hassle. So please take a minute or so that it takes to just sort all your components and find the right bins for them and put them back, and that way they'll be ready for the next person. They'll be ready for you next time, and they'll all be in the right places. Okay? So that's the lab cleanup policy. The equipment use is that the equipment all belongs to the school, so please treat it nicely. Try not to break it. Like I said, if a little part blows up and you learn something from it, totally fine. But try not to abuse the large equipment. Computers, and then the next steps. So this is something that is really important. I wanted to talk about some of the classes that are available right now. So you guys are all in 302. This is a great hands-on learning class. We're going to be talking a little bit about the math that goes along with this and that you can use to analyze circuits. But we actually have another class which is specifically and only devoted to the math of circuit analysis. So this class really goes nicely hand in hand with the math class, okay? So you can come to this class and you can do all the hands-on stuff and building things, then you can go to the math class and learn all of the math and analysis behind it. So these two classes work really well together. Also, there's a third class which is all about cabling, okay? So it's how you make basic electronic cables. So this is great if you're in the music industry because it shows you how to make music cables. It's great if you are going into telecommunications or other communications because all those places use cables extensively. So this class, the math class, and the cabling class all go really well together. So if you guys have a little bit extra time in your schedule, and you can fit those other classes in, this is a really great idea, okay? So I highly recommend that. I will try and get those class numbers and class times for you in case you guys want to add those, but really those 3 classes go very well together. We also have some certificates that we offer through this department and other things like that. We'll talk about those a little bit later. I know that we've already flooded you with information today, so we're not going to go into that, but we'll talk about those in a little while. Alright, and then there's a bunch of course topics. I'm not going to go through all of those individually. Basically, we've already talked about the topics that we're going to cover in this class. So any questions about the syllabus? Okay.